Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone who's on is on for the second part of a three-part series related to PCI Trustwave. Really appreciate the active participation in the first one and all the great questions. If you have any questions today, please shoot them out and we will get to them at the appropriate time during the presentation. So, and again, if you have any questions related to the first part, please shoot them out to us. Today, my goal is to dig a little deeper into how you can support and help your merchants get through it, because we know that's been one of the big obstacles, and educate you so you feel confident enough to talk to them about it, even though, again, as Jeff pointed out, in the end, it's up to the merchant to complete it. Before we get there, just again, the Trustwave call center number is 1-877-815-3414, and I've provided the link. That link will get you to a page, and you should all play around with it, because when you go to that link, that's going to show either you want to get started or if you're already registered to log in. Try that link if you haven't. That's the first page you'll go to, and you either register or they themselves, or if they're already registered, that's where they can log in. Next, I just want to review one more time, real quickly, why are we spending so much time on this? First, reminder, this is now mandated. We're not sure what that's going to mean, and we've been honest about that. For now, it means there's non-compliance fees and there's risk if someone gets breached. But it's out there and we can't ignore it. 2, sell the $50,000 breach protection. That's a huge benefit we're giving away, in a sense, for free. It is kind of tied into some things, but in a sense, they're getting that for free, whether they're registered and compliant or not. I think that's very powerful, especially for the small merchant. 2, why are we doing this, and what do you want to convey? You're conveying that you're helping your merchants, your clients, run a safe, secure business and protect their customers, because it only takes one problem in their customers for them to lose business. And once that happens, a small business can't survive from it, as well as the fines and the shutdown that could come with being breached and not being jumping through the hoops to have secured their business as much as they need to under PCI compliance. From a practical matter, I know lots of people have problems with the compliance fees, non-compliance fees, which is in there as a catalyst, as a motivation to get them compliant, but certainly that's something that we use to our advantage when we look at someone else's, and it puts your customers at risk, and it puts you at risk from a retention perspective, so we certainly want to get them compliant so they don't get charged the fees. Another benefit, again, is the margin. I'm so excited for myself that I've spent the last month doing this, probably first because to prepare for these presentations, but I've now added hopefully at least a couple $100 of monthly margin to myself just by doing the right thing for my merchants. So that's powerful, I think, as well. Importantly, all these professional development presentations I'm doing are really for this next point. Everything we do is to make you more of an advisor and a trusted partner to your merchants, and not just someone that's provided a service and where you discuss price with them, and it really shifts. I'm going to give you 2 examples here. In the last 2 weeks, 2 of my largest customers, one is a large garage owner. He's getting chargebacks now, and this goes back off the point for a minute, but it went back to our last presentation and back to the advisory role comment, though. He asked me to help him, and I sat down with him, and I went over 3 or 4 chargebacks with him to the degree I could help him. To the degree I can't, I called the chargeback department, and I'm going to sit down with them today and then call the merchant, and he so appreciated that, and it just strengthened our relationship. And 2, I have a large physical therapy relationship, about 10 locations. They're opening more, and they've never dealt with PCI, and now they're storing customer credit card information through USAE Pay, and they know it's important, but they've never spent the time. And I spent most of the time talking about that and nothing else. And again, by doing that, the relationship's only strengthened. And then lastly, when I go through these, I'm always asking for referrals, and I've had a few real referrals happen and a few leads that I've gotten from it. I know we all want to go through our book and figure out reasons to call to try to get referrals, and this is a great way to help your merchant and then get referrals from it. With all that said, let's dig deeper now into what's made it difficult for all of us to become effective leaders in helping our merchants in PCI because the surveys and the scans are somewhat confusing. Okay. So first, when you go through, and we showed you all the slides from last time, once you get through and you register, here are the questions you're going to get. You're going to first get, is the merchant doing business in terms of processing in person, mail, telephone, or website? You're going to check off whatever they're doing. If they're doing a website, obviously you're going to check off website. If they have a terminal, you're going to do in person. If they're keying in and have a gateway, you're going to hit mail, telephone. If someone's using a terminal but also keying in, you're going to hit person and telephone. Then they're going to ask you, how are they processing? Are they through a dial-up, traditional old school terminal? Are they doing some type of mobile or tablet? Or are they doing internet? And internet can apply to a terminal that's through an IP, a gateway that's over a computer, or other various examples, but those are the core businesses, at least I'm in, that I think most of you are dealing with. Then last, they're going to ask, are you using a terminal or POS system, a virtual terminal, such as USA ePay Gateway, or other? So those are 3 questions that are going to have to get answered, and from that, you're going to get to a different survey, depending on how you answer these questions. So I'm going to walk you through, I think, 4 or 5 of the most common types of merchants we have and how to help educate you to then help your merchants get through this. The easiest is obviously a terminal on a phone line that we still have. I know we all have some. Very simple to answer, and every one of your merchants that has this should be registered, completed, and compliant. Okay. So what are the questions you're going to get? There's really 2 sections. You're going to get a physical security section and then a security policy section. Some of the questions you get are, do you store credit cards? Do you have a plan in place if you get breached? Do you train your employees? Things like that. These 2 sections are very common sense, very logical. There's some questions that you may, that you have to take a little leap of faith, but you want to let your merchants know that these are all questions they can answer. If they can't, you can help them, or they call the help desk and answer them in a logical way. And if there are things here they're not doing now, you should talk to them about it, tell them that they should, or how to do it so they can become compliant. And if once you go through one of these with a merchant, these are a breeze to answer and get compliant, and there's no scan. So my recommendation to you is go through your book. Anyone who's under this, you should be doing today or next week. You'll strengthen your relationship. You'll get them compliant. You'll avoid the non-compliance fees, and you'll be making an extra $1, $2 an account, which, again, every dollar counts in this business. That's number 1. Number 2, gets a little more complicated. These are terminals that are hooked up through IP. You're still in the end going to get the same physical security and security policy sections, which we just went over, but before that, they are going to ask some technical internet-related stuff. Common sense answers, things that they should be able to answer from a common sense perspective, and then there are things that are a little more technical that they can answer in a sense the way they think it should be answered, or they can call the help desk or get an IT internally or externally that they have involved. If you walk through it with them, you can get to the right answers on the ones that are a little more complicated, but again, it's a little trickier. You should get familiar with it. Trustwave can help you, educate you, and help them get through it. Once you get through that, you're going to be putting an IP address in for the scan part. Normally, merchants don't have this. Sometimes they do, so you should ask them. And if they don't, again, my trick from last time is have them go on a computer that's through the same router and put www.ipchicken.com. An IP address will come up, and that's the IP address that goes into the scan. A scan will then be scheduled. It'll be done basically within, I think, 24 to 48 hours. Hopefully they'll pass. If they fail, you're going to have to walk through the reasons they failed. And again, most of the time this can get worked through. Once in a while where it can't, you've still helped them and raised the issues that they need to address, and you've done it in an advisory role. Okay, next. We're going to go through the gateway. And this is the one that I learned recently, and I think this is going to really, really be helpful to you, because I never did that. And I walked through it with Trustwave, and I'm going to help you for all your gateway merchants get this done, and no scan is necessary. And I repeat, no scan is necessary. You're going to have to, when you go through it and you pick a gateway, and you pick, I left one thing out. I'm going to take one step back. When you go through those first few sections, they're then going to ask you for a product, and that's when you're going to put in VX520. You're going to put in Deja Vu. You're going to put in USA ePay or whatever it is. When you put in USA ePay as the example that I'm going to give for gateways, there is a USA ePay option, but it's going to put it in as what's called a payment application. And if you're just using the gateway to plug in numbers, it should be put in as a virtual terminal. So you're going to put in other and then type in USA ePay. I know it's a little difficult once you advise your merchants, then it becomes very easy. And by doing that, it bypasses the scan that's not necessary because USA ePay and the other gateways are PCI compliant. And as long as they answer some of these other questions, you don't need to do a scan. You still need to go through the internet network, secure communication, and there are some technical questions in there, but no scan is necessary. That makes it much simpler process. And I apologize for it say scan and no scan, but it's just no scan. So let me repeat one more time. When you get to the product part, you're going to hit virtual gate, you're going to hit USA ePay, but then you're going to hit other because it's not the right product within USA ePay. You're going to hit USA ePay. You're going to say it's a virtual terminal, not a payment application, and then no scan is necessary. The first time this is done, call Trustwave and they'll help you. And if you need to, via Jeff and myself, I can show you one time. And that's crucial because that makes it much easier to answer. Next slide is going to be e-commerce. This is when you're merchants who have a website and making payment over a website. It's the same questions, same sections. There is a scan needed, but all you're going to put in is their website. And by doing that, the scan's done. Let me remind you a little bit about the scans from last presentation. Once the scans are done, it's going to show them that a scan's scheduled. It's going to show them within when it's done whether they passed or failed. If they're passed, they're golden and great for the year. If it failed, it's going to come up with lots of reasons or some reasons why, which they can call Trustwave to go over or get their IT person involved. So before we get to questions, if there are any more out there, let's kind of tie this all together. Okay, so you're going to register and promote your merchants, which we talked about last time. Once they're registered, they have login. That login needs to be saved because at least once a year they're going to have to log in, whether they do it or you do it, as Jeff talked about, how to do it in a secure manner. Once they're registered, they're going to go to the SAQ. They're going to go through the things we just went through. They're going to say what type of merchant they are, how they take processing. If there's no internet involved at all, which is typically only the terminal, there's no scan needed. If they're using a gateway as a virtual terminal, no scan is needed either. If they're tied into IP, they're going to need a scan, or if they're in e-commerce, they're going to need a scan. Okay, I recommend calling Trustwave, explaining the type of merchant that they are to help getting questions answered properly there, because a lot of times they're having trouble because they're not answering the questions right, not because the questions are too difficult. Once you do that, you're going to go through the SAQ. You're going to get through it. If you get through it, you passed. If you don't, it's going to show you questions that are failing that need a different answer. And at that point, the merchant needs to think about, did they answer the question wrong, or is there something in place that needs to be changed so they can answer the question differently so they can be secure. Once that's answered and you completed it, they're going to get an email saying they're complete, and then either the scan's needed in the cases that we talked about, or the scan's not needed, and then they're going to be fully compliant. Once they're fully compliant, they get another email, and they're good for the year, although scans are going to be done monthly, and if something changed, then they're going to get an email saying the scan now has failed or has passed. I would let them know anytime to let them know that process and the timing of it. And if a scan subsequently fails, you should tell them they should be calling you or forwarding that to you so you can then discuss it and then get Trustwave back on the phone with their IT person if they have one to try to resolve it. If not, 11 months later, they're going to be reminded that they're going to soon have to re-up. It's pretty easy. It's really just hitting one or two buttons to then reapply, not reapply, but just resubmit so that they're compliant again for the next year. Another recommendation I give you from a sales perspective for yourself is once you do this and they're registered and they're compliant, I would look the following month in the statement to make sure that you see the $495 at this point on there. A, that confirms that everything's set up properly, and B, it confirms that you're starting to make your extra margin there. No one's perfect. We're not perfect. Once in a while, something may fall through the cracks. But if it's done right, then you'll see the $495 on there. And then you're ready and you're complete, they're compliant, and you can move forward to the next one. If you don't, you should call into ISO support, and they'll help figure out what's going on there. I'll take a step back for a minute. If anyone has any more questions related to the first presentation or this one.
Hey, Brad, there actually was that I think was pretty pertinent, and even if you don't know the answer, we could take it as a takeaway. But have you experienced a mobile processing platform and having to get PCI compliant through that, whether that be a wireless terminal or like a mobile device, like a USAE Pay Mobile into the phone or something like that?
Yeah, so if we went back to one of the slides previously when I said they're going to have to choose between dial-up, mobile, tablet, or internet, they're going to hit mobile, and that's going to get you to the right sets of questions. And, you know, the questions will be a little different, but I haven't done really any of those myself. But that's, again, instead of hitting dial-up or internet, you're going to hit mobile/tablet, and that's going to send you to a little different type of SAQ. Hopefully that's helpful. Again, the very small merchant, it doesn't come up a lot, but as you get merchant, it's very important that they can convey to their customer base that they are compliant. So it's not just behind closed doors that they know that they're protected and protecting their merchants, but you know, medium to bigger merchants need it because they know they have a big responsibility here. And some of them are, as you get bigger, they're going to actually come to you. The smaller ones want to avoid this in general, and your job's going to be to tell them why it's important. The medium to bigger, and if you want to start to play in the bigger pool, this is actually really important. And for you not to be knowledgeable and not to be proactive, to be honest with you, is going to put you behind the eight ball and trying to get that business where if you are knowledgeable and proactive, you're going to look different. And the bigger merchants want to look for a salesperson that looks more seasoned, more knowledgeable, and not just talking about price. And that's kind of tying all this stuff together. The third presentation, which is going to talk a little more about the mandate and what that really means from the merchant perspective, the EPSG perspective, and your perspective, and then talk a little bit about the transition from the $495 product, which I think is a great product, to a more robust, more sophisticated, and a little bit more expensive product, which is where the industry is going and where EPSG is going, so that you will be prepared when that's rolled out. And the reality is, I'll have to go back to Melanie on this, it's at the stage where it just has to be part of the application, because right now it's hard-coded at the $495 for this product. And once that's changed, this goes away, not for existing, they're all grandfathered, but it's probably going to go away, and you're going to go to 2 or 3 choices going forward that, again, is going to have antivirus and malware and things like that. So you're going to have to step up your game even more, but have even a more robust line to offer your merchants. So, again, I think you should take advantage of this now, use this as a catalyst now for your less sophisticated merchants. get good at this, get productive at this, and add margin and stickiness to your customers. And then we're going to start to prep you on Monday for the transition to where this industry is going and where EPSG is going and the product line that we're going to offer you going forward related to PCI. Tying this all again together one more time, whether it's chargebacks, whether it's PCI, whether it's anything else other than price, that's how you distinguish yourself in this business. That's how you make your retention rate get up to 90 to 100% from the 20% turnover that this industry in general experiences. And it's by doing all these things. If you just talk about price and you speak to your merchant once in a blue moon, you're at the mercy of losing the account. If you start to go through all these different things that we've gone through already and things we're going to go through in the future, because there's going to be no reason to lose them. And I hope you take it to heart. I hope you go back and review these. You go back into EPSG University. If you need to hear these again, you can always send questions to ProDev that myself and Jeff will answer. We're always available to help you with this stuff at first, but the goal here is to train you so you can help yourself. And that's always what our goal is here. I want you guys to email us now at ProDev because this is a dynamic department now within EPSG, and we're here to help you. You know our mandate, which is to help you get accounts, retain accounts, add margin, and get referrals. So if there are other areas, other topics that you guys are seeing in the field that you think we're not giving you enough support or that we can help you with, email us, and that'll be the next series of presentations we do because we're here to help you. That's our goal, and not just ram product down your throat. So with all that said, unless there's any more questions, I'm going to let it go, and I hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend.